In late 2014, I started producing Drift Hunter, a documentary about the underground drifting scene in Japan, after a video I made went viral. Unfortunately, the project went into limbo. Technical issues and legal concerns almost killed it entirely. Yet throughout 2015, I continued to film footage of car culture in Japan and explore the underground drifting scene in and around Gunma prefecture. Now, with the help of several close friends and associates, I'm finally able to release the footage. I'm not an expert on drifting, racing, or Japan. I'm just a regular car enthusiast who has gained access to this underground scene. Somehow, I have been given the rare opportunity to document it for the world. This is a chronicle of my personal experience exploring the real-life equivalent of Initial D. This is real street racing and drifting in the mountain roads of Gunma. This is Drift Hunter. In this episode, I'd like to set the stage for where the documentary takes place, in and around the mountain roads of Gunma Prefecture in Japan. Located just 100 kilometers northwest of Tokyo on the edge of the Kanto Plain, Gunma is a mountainous region of breathtaking natural beauty. For city dwellers in the nation's capital, it's thought of as the Inaka, which roughly translates to the countryside. Yet despite being on the outskirts of Tokyo, it's a wonderful place to live and visit. I should know, as I've lived in a quiet suburb of Gunma since 2010. The crane-shaped prefecture is most famous in Japan for its natural hot spring resorts, which are called onsen in Japanese. Kusatsu, the best onsen town in Japan, is just a short 2-hour train ride from Tokyo. Gunma Prefecture is also known as a hotspot for outdoor sports such as snowboarding in the winter and activities like canyoning, bungee, paragliding, and more in the summer. Even in the larger cities of Gunma, the abundance of rice paddies, cabbage patches, and farms give it a quaint, backcountry charm. If you've ever watched a Studio Ghibli film, then you might have a sense of what I'm talking about. In fact, the onsen hotel in the movie Spirited Away is modeled after a real-life one here in Gunma called Shima Onsen. It's truly an area of abundant natural beauty and traditional Japanese motifs. Japan is a land of strange juxtapositions, and many of them are glaringly apparent here in Gunma. While every second car is a hybrid, high-tech toilets abound, and solar panels are everywhere, people still drive 30-year-old clunkers. Squat toilets mock you at the most inopportune times. And oh yeah, those solar panels? They might power old traditional houses with the tatami mats and no insulation. The fabric of Japan is a fascinating mix of old and new, traditional and high-tech. So my point is, everywhere you look, you see signs of an earlier, nostalgic period. There continues to be a strong sense of community and a slower, more traditional pace of life, at least compared to the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. That's part of the reason why I love it here. Yet Gunma is also famous for something else. It has a rich car culture. The prefecture has the most cars per capita of anywhere in Japan. There's even a legend that there are more cars than people. Gunma, whose name literally translates to group of horses, has a rich history as a horse breeding and trading power. And if you think about it, not much has changed in that regard. It has the corporate headquarters and main production facility of Subaru Motors in Japan, so it's basically still a region that deals in the production of horsepower. And of course, all of that horsepower gets put to the pavement on a nightly basis deep in the 3 famous mountains of Gunma: Haruna, Akagi, and Miyogi. And that brings us to what Gunma just might be most famous for around the world: Initial D. If you're watching this documentary, there's a good chance that you've at least heard about it. But for the uninitiated, Initial D is a long-running anime and manga series about street racing on the mountain roads of Japan. It follows the story of a young teenager named Takumi, an unassuming tofu delivery driver who initially has no interest in cars. However, his years of making speedy tofu deliveries have honed his driving skills, making him almost unbeatable. Initial D is incredibly popular around the world, and in my opinion has both placed Gunma on the map, so to speak, and played a hand in bringing drifting to the forefront of pop culture. But unlike Brian and Dom's street racing antics on the other side of the world, part of what makes Initial D so compelling is the fact that it seems so firmly rooted in reality. Everything from the way the races are conducted to the explanation of driving techniques and even the physics seem plausible, unlike the overblown and super fake races of Hollywood movies. And beyond that, all of the settings in the series really look like places that could actually exist in real life. Well, guess what? They actually do. It turns out that Initial D is not just vaguely set in Gunma, Japan, but that every single location, from the towns to the gas stations, restaurants, and of course the courses themselves and the turns on the toge are all based on real-life places. And the underground street racing and drifting scene featured in Initial D? Well, it has a real-life counterpart that was probably the inspiration for the series in the first place. I've been fortunate enough to experience this all firsthand. In this series, we're going to visit those places and dive into this fascinating world together. But let's back up a second. How did I, a regular guy from Canada, wind up here in Gunma, much less riding shotgun with a drifter as he slides around a bend at 130 kilometers an hour? Stay tuned for the next episode to find out.
Now we're here.